Mhm.
Welcome, everyone.
Hello, Bob.
Hi, how are you?
Real good. And yourself?
Good, good.
Good.
We're just waiting for a few people to get into the meeting, and then we'll get started with our topic of finding free photos on the internet. Okay, so has anyone ever tried to find photos on the internet at all?
Oh, yeah.
You have? Yeah. Mary, what have you used?
Oh, I'm trying to remember the name of it. It was when I was working. Tell me the name of one and I'll tell you if it was it.
Well, there's Adobe, there's
No,
Pexels, there's Pixabay,
no.
Shutterstock.
No, not Shutterstock.
Okay.
I've used Microsoft too.
Okay. Good. Good. And Joe, you've used some, you said?
Yeah, Google Images pretty much.
Okay, using Google search. Okay. Okay. And anybody else tried using anything to find photos on the internet? By the way, we have James from Get Set Up. He's our teaching assistant. If anybody's having any difficulty or technical issues related to getting into the meeting, let us know, and James will attempt to help you out. Okay.
I used one of my own photos for this background. There's a class, virtual background for beginners in Zoom.
Okay.
And that's how I took this picture. And
You
so
took the picture. It's your picture, huh?
yes, it is.
Where it's from the Grand Canyon?
That's right. That's
Okay.
right. I don't know.
Great.
You can see all of it because when I moved, then you see the chair. Never mind. But
Sure.
anyway, I was having too much light from the window. Would be all too bright, and then the rest of it was too dark. So that did solve that problem.
Oh, okay.
And I've been trying to advertise it because that way more people hopefully will want to have their, picture in there. Because, my hair is not defined,
Right.
you
right.
know.
Yep. Yeah.
You can have a bad hair day and it's still okay.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if you went to a green screen, that would probably help. But
Oh, I know. I didn't do that.
yeah, virtual backgrounds, they're tricky. I think that's actually my next class that I'm teaching at 4 o'clock Pacific time is virtual
Right.
backgrounds for beginners. Yeah, but you were in my class before.
Yes.
Yeah.
And by the end of the class, I did this.
Oh, great.
Found it and put it on by the end of the class. So I was
Okay.
really, really glad to do that.
Great. Well, it's a good picture. It's a good
Thank you.
picture.
Hi, Bob. This is Regina.
Hi, Regina.
I use Google Images to find pictures,
Okay.
but the reason why I took this class, a lot of them are copyright protected.
Great. Great. That's a good idea. That's a good thing to do. We'll talk a little bit about copyright and what happens when you do.
And then I'm into genealogy, so I use the Library of Congress photograph session sometimes.
Oh, yeah, that's a good resource for photos. Yeah, 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 that's great. Okay, well, let me share a few slides with you. Thanks for, sounds like some people have used some photos, but they're not sure what the right sources are to use and what they are. And so we'll talk a little bit about that and what we do. First, let me give you some introduction material. I'm Bob Cohen. I'm based out of Seal Beach, and I worked in the technology industry. I run a website. I've helped people do internet marketing. I've run a training company since about 2007. I write books, and I've used all kinds of technologies for all kinds of reasons. It's just kind of a hobby to me. And one of my goals is that I like to try and make technology simpler for people to understand and take a little bit of the mystery and complexity out of it. Okay. And so we'll be talking today about finding pictures on the internet. At Get Set Up, most of you have taken classes before. It's great. We can see you on camera. I can see you wave. You can get my attention a little easier can always use the little reactions button at the bottom of Zoom to raise your hand. I watch for those too. We are recording the class so that you can request a recording by sending an email to help@getsetup.io. If you're joining us by live stream, we encourage you to visit the Get Set Up website at getsetup.io and register for a free account. And then you can register for classes. One of my friends that I told about Get Set Up is now actually hosting an iPad interest group, a gentleman by the name of Fred Carpenter. And one of my friends that I referred took like 60 classes the first month she joined. So it's a great way to learn a lot of new things. And we're not paid to promote any specific products. I'm going to be mentioning website services and other things. They don't pay us to promote them. We're just helping you learn about them as part of our training material that we provide. So today we're going to talk a little bit about some things that have to do with finding free photos. First of all, I'll help explain what permissions and copyright are and what you should be aware of, what stock photos are, and how to use some of the stock photo websites, and a bunch of resources. So we'll talk a little bit about those things. Occasionally, I might have to mute everyone in case we end up with some background noise. My laptop and computer microphones pick up all types of things. And so it's a little bit of a challenge to sometimes make it possible for people to use. I'm going to put myself on Spotlight here so that when the recording comes back, we'll be able to see a lot of things a lot easier. Okay, does anybody have any questions they thought of as a result of the agenda?
I'd like to see or have some explanation of just exactly what is the Creative Commons and the responsibilities of those using photos from Creative Commons Association, I guess.
Oh, okay.
Does that make sense?
That does. We're going to talk about Creative Commons. That's great. Great. Yep. That's a good thing to cover, because you'll see this thing called Creative Commons out there a lot when you're looking at photos on the internet. And we'll talk about what it means and what you have to be careful of and what you can do with things from Creative Commons too. Great. Good idea, Joe. Okay. All right. Anybody else have anything that they, as a result of the agenda, they want to see if we're going to cover? And of course, as we go with material, you can ask questions too. That's one of the great things about Get Set Up, is that we are live as opposed to a recording. So you can actually talk to the person leading the class, right? Okay. So there's this idea out there called a stock photo. And basically it is a photo from a library, and stock photo libraries can be free or paid. So it can be either way. And you get what's called a license to use the photo. And that license gives you permissions to use the photo in certain ways. And so understanding what the license you got is important to understand how to use the photo and what it means. Okay. Thank you, James. I think James may have left us. So, but he was here to help kick things off. Thank you. Okay. So photo library, stock photos are called stock photos because they are not exclusive or custom photos. Okay. And a custom photo is a photo that you might create, like a cabinet. You know, if you've ever looked at kitchen remodeling or done anything with cabinets, you know that there are something called stock cabinets that you can pick up at your local home improvement store, or you could pay somebody to design custom cabinets, which would be a one-of-a-kind, unique type of design. So a stock photo, just like a stock cabinet, is less expensive. And so you can find stock photos for lower cost than if you had to hire a photographer. Now, of course, if you are the photographer, that's, you're just worried about your own time and resources. Photos are great for using in documents, presentations, websites, social media, because people are very visual. We remember things that we see at much more than things that we hear or touch. It's one of our most acute senses, and images help us remember things a lot too from a learning standpoint as well. So stock photos are less expensive than hiring a photographer to create a custom photo. And stock photos are typically very high quality images. All of the stock photo websites that handle stock photos actually have quality standards that they check for before they allow photographers, and photographers can be professional or amateur, but before that photo is listed in a stock photo website, it has to meet certain quality standards. The other thing stock photo websites do is they make it easy to search for photos. So if you were looking for something like a beach scene or the Grand Canyon or an American Spaniel, I saw an American Spaniel when I picked up coffee today. You could find photos by searching for them, and they're quickly available. When you find a photo that you want, you can actually download it to your computer almost immediately, in just a fraction of a second. So stock photos have become used by a lot of professionals, a lot of amateurs for a lot of different reasons. And so they are very, very popular because of that. Now, obviously, if you're a photographer and you have a photo, but say you need a photo of a Siamese cat and you don't own a Siamese cat, well, that's where a stock photo can fill that gap. Or you want a photo of downtown Detroit, Michigan, but you live in, say, Idaho. How do you get that photo? Well, stock photos give you the ability to find photos like that and use them. So they're used by a lot of people. And a lot of times the photos you see on websites are not custom. Obviously, if you're making a product, or if you're, like if you list a product on Amazon, the photos are of the real product. But on lots of times websites, travel sites, other places, there are stock photos that the website owner has used from a stock photo library. There's this thing called a license, and it's a contract. It basically is a contract that basically tells you what your permissions are for using the photo. Okay, and the contracts are electronic, right? And so the license to use this photo or whatever photo could be free. Okay, those are nice. And that's what the topic of this class is about. Or they could be paid. There are websites, and some of the websites that do offer free photos also offer photos that you can get if you pay to become a member or a subscriber. Sometimes the license is completely unrestricted, meaning you can do anything you want with the photo for any purpose whatsoever. You can use it for a logo, you could use it in product literature, you can use it commercially on a website, you can use it and modify it and change it, do whatever you want with it. That's what unrestricted use means. And again, you could have a free unrestricted photo, or you could have a paid one. They could be either way. Restricted means that the license says you have certain permissions and limits in how you can use that photo. One type of license is for personal use. Maybe you just want it used for your personal Zoom background, or you want to use it as a background photo on your computer desktop, or as a photo you want to use in your, something you want to print out and tape up to the wall. That's personal use. Or you want to use it in a school project for an assignment. Okay, that's personal use. Commercial use means that you are using it in any type of means that is potentially used by an organization, even nonprofits. So religious organizations, fundraising organizations, even people like YMCA or nonprofits are considered commercial entities when it comes to licensing. And so they would have to have permission to use that photo commercially. Okay. And obviously an organization that wants to use it in their website, if it's a travel website or something like that. And some photos are possible to use with attribution, meaning you say photo courtesy of, say, Bob Cohen, for example, or photo courtesy of, XYZ, or photo courtesy, and they will let you use it, but you have to post information on where it is you got the photo and who provided the photo. Okay. So it can be complicated. The easiest ones to use are the ones that are free and completely unrestricted. And there's lots of them out there. There's lots of them out there. And so that's what we're going to start looking at. We're going to start learning about those. Any questions about that? Okay. Why you need the license in the first place is because of the copyright law that exists in the United States. The copyright was actually originally put into the US Constitution. And it basically said Congress shall pass a law that protects original works of people. What is an original work? Well, it can be a book, it can be a photo, it can be a painting, it can be a sculpture, it can be a song, it can actually even be software code that does an application. So it can be a mobile app on a smartphone. So all of these things are considered original works. If somebody created it, it's something that's considered an original work. And the Constitution had it. Our founding fathers basically wanted it there for one point. They said the people that create something should be able to benefit from their work that they used in creating it. And so it protects them. And right now, since 1978, actually, the ability to copyright something, oops, sorry, I clicked on the wrong thing. You don't need to actually file any documentation or paperwork in order to own the copyright. If you draw something on a napkin in a restaurant, it's your original work. And so you own it. If a child paints something in a classroom at school, it's their original work because they created it. Now, many people post a notice, like they say copyright 2021 something, right? And that's notice that lets people know that this is copyrighted work. But even if you don't see it, you have to assume that it's copyrighted unless it doesn't say it is. And what that means is that the owner of the work has the exclusive right to reproduce and distribute it. That means no one else can use it unless they give permission to people to use. Now, I think Joe mentioned Creative Commons. Creative Commons is a resource that gives people permissions, and the owner can specify what kind of permissions they want to give. But some of the websites we're going to look at, the owner of the work has given that website and anyone else that wants to permission to use their photo for whatever they want to use it for. And this is why you don't see a lot of things like Disney characters, people from movies, other things that are copyrighted, used by a lot of people, because they protect their copyright. They protect their what they create is their value. I mean, so, something like an image of Mickey Mouse or Pirates of the Caribbean or things like that, that's really the value that they've created, and they protect it very, very closely. Any questions about that? There's so much out there that's copyright free, that basically gives you permission to use it, that you can use it. Now, some people say, well, what if I find a Google on Google search? Well, Google's just searching the web. They aren't really distributing photos. They're just showing you where the photos are located. And what Google does is they tell you that usage rights may not be filtered. The default search for Google says images may be subject to copyright. And when you do a search for, say, a tiger or something like that, it may show something that's subject to copyright. I took a class from Joel Sartori. He's a National Geographic photographer. And if you find a photograph on the internet and you search for, say, a tiger, you may find images that say in fine print on the Google search, copyright by someone, which means you can't use it without their permission. And so there's a few exceptions. One is for educational purposes. Another is for news or reporting, but it's the intent that you have to use, you're using it for, that's important. And so Google search is not the best way to find photos, unfortunately, because you have to be out on your own. You have to find out what the licensing is for any photo. Yeah, Joe, you've got a question?
Yeah, on Google, you can have it filter for Creative Commons
You
photos.
can filter, right, for
Yeah,
Creative Commons and usage that is,
Yeah.
Subject, right? So this little drop down arrow here will let you filter if you want to, right?
Yeah.
But it starts to reduce the number of photos you have available to use when you do that. So there's some other resources that can be better to use. Okay, so
Getty.
did someone else have a question?
No, Getty Images is the one I've used.
Getty, right. Getty is a paid photo library. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And so these are paid photo libraries. You pay a monthly subscription or per photo fee, and they have millions of photos, and they're extremely high quality. And so sometimes the free photo sites are owned by some of these organizations because they want to get you in the habit of using stock photos. And then if you ever need to purchase one or purchase a subscription, you are more likely to come to their stock photo library and purchase a subscription. There's a lot of them. There's a lot of them. Even Microsoft, with your Microsoft 365 subscription, gives you access to a stock photo library when you use PowerPoint or Word on your computer. So, and that's you paid for their stock photos, so you have the right to use it in a lot of ways. And there's issues like sometimes you have to be careful. There's actually things like stock music, and YouTube, for example, provides stock music for YouTube creators to use in their videos, but they say specifically it's only for use in YouTube videos. You can't use that music if you're doing it somewhere else, for example, on Facebook. So the licensing is really, really important to understand. And there's so many free sites out there that have unrestricted licenses. They're great. So obviously your own photos are a great resource for photos. Okay, if you took it yourself, like, was it Cece, you have a photo of the Grand Canyon behind you, you took that yourself?
Yes.
You can use that however you want to, whatever you want to do with it. It's your photo, okay? There are Creative Commons licensed photos. There's sites like Adobe, and what you're going to do is you're going to get links to all of these sites in the email that is that are going to come out with the notes for class. And when I do my PowerPoint basics class and I talk about Microsoft 365, I show people how you can download stock photos in PowerPoint, and then you can export your PowerPoint image and use it however you want to. So all of these websites are going to be included in the class notes. Okay. Sometimes they do ask for a donation or an attribution on where you got it from. That's optional. And some of these sites have paid areas and some have free areas that you have to be careful of. Yeah, Joe.
Oh, when you get a photo, a stock photo from Microsoft using 365, either for PowerPoint or for Word, can you use those photos in something other than Word or PowerPoint, or are you limited in using those photos inside of Word and PowerPoint or Excel or the Office series?
Well,
In other
once,
words, can you put them on the net in some other venue, so to speak?
absolutely, absolutely. When you pay for your Microsoft 365 subscription, it includes access to and use of all of Microsoft's stock photo, stock image content. And the thing is, you actually download the image from within Word or within PowerPoint. But you can export whatever you create outside of Word or PowerPoint and use it however you want to.
Okay, thank you.
You just have to export it is all. But lots of times I'm finding I'm using Microsoft's 365 stock photo library for a lot of things, but there's others out there. There's so many, it's amazing. We're going to go kind of from more difficult to less difficult. Creative Commons compared to some of these others is actually, I think, a little more difficult because you've got so many different licenses that you have to deal with. So let's look around, okay? Let's go look at these websites and see what they do and how they work and what you can get from them, okay? Sound like a good idea?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Let me change my tab over here to Creative Commons. This is creativecommons.org. Creative Commons is an organization that was started by some people that said, we want to give people that create content the ability to share it, but also to let people know what the permissions are for using their content. Okay, so it's a little more than copyright just says, you can't use it without getting permission from the user. But Creative Commons gives people the ability to say something that they want to, give people permission. Now, here on the website, it shows right away that you can do a search for you want something to use commercially or something you can modify or adapt. So let's take a look for something like the Grand Canyon. And I can just do a search here. This is going to give me over 500 million images available for reuse. A lot of them, okay? Now, the challenge with Creative Commons is that the licensing is on the left here. And they also have used commercially. So if you were going to use it on a commercial website or in a presentation or as a piece of image in a brochure or literature, you'd have to specify that. And even though there's a lot of images here, as soon as I click on use commercially, which is over here on the left, you can see it's going to change the images that are available. Okay, it's going to change what's available. There might still be some good ones available. Okay, so that's one limitation. The other is that there's all these different licensing specifications. Okay, and you can hover over and click on the question mark. So CC0 is that this work has been dedicated to the public domain, which means anybody can use it. There's no restrictions on it. It's part of the public domain. There's no copyright, no license on it whatsoever, okay? Then they have something called public domain mark, okay, which means this work is marked as being in the public domain. So it might have a mark on it that you aren't supposed to remove.
Hmm.
Then they have another license, by. Okay, this says you have to credit the creator. That's that attribution where if you use the photo, you have to say, you know, courtesy of this person or this organization. Okay. Then you have to buy SA. And then they buy share adaptations. Okay. Buy NC. Okay. Non-commercial use only. Okay. So you can see there's a little set of limits. You've got to be careful what you use, but CCO is virtually, you know, usable for anything, no matter what. Okay, so that's one type of class, one type of licensing class. You can find a lot of photos on here. And you just go right to Creative Commons, and it's easier sometimes than doing a search on Google. That's one. Another one, Adobe Stock. Adobe is software that's used by a lot of photographers. They make stock photo editing suite called Lightroom and Photoshop. And so they've always been a piece of software used by photographers. And several years ago, they finally started creating an Adobe Stock site where it makes it easy for people that use Adobe software to upload photos. And they have a free area of Adobe Stock, and they have a paid area of Adobe Stock. And so these are free stock assets. They're popular. They have vectors. Vectors are drawings, logos, icon shapes, animals, and these are free to use. However, you might need, I'm going to mute people just so we don't get any noise in the background, okay? And so you might have to sign up for an Adobe account. It's free, but you might have to log in and register for an Adobe account. So if you were looking for free photos here, you can click on these, and they do have a subscription. They're always going to let you look for ones with a subscription, but there are over 52,000 free photos on Adobe Stock, and I haven't searched for anything in particular, but I can. Now, you'll see on the left, there are some things. You can search for videos or templates or 3D icons or illustrations or vectors. You can search by the orientation, and when you hover over a photo, it'll show you that it's free, and that when you want to get the photo, you can just click on license and it will download it to your computer for you, and it'll end up in your download folder. They all end up in your download folder. And but you have the ability to indicate you want ones with people or not. Here's usage rights, all, you know, so that, and you can change things like size and color and others, okay? So Adobe Stock is a great resource. They're just one, and you can search. So if you're looking for a Grand Canyon photo here, and you can do a search for Grand Canyon, and there's 38 results in free here, okay? Now, if you have an account with these services, it usually lets you save photos to a library. So you say, gee, I'd like to do a collection or something. You can save them to a library if you're interested. And that way, when you come back, you can see a collection of photos. I don't know if I have a library here, but it looks like I've saved a few that might have been part of my library. I'm not sure what for, but probably something, 7. Okay, just some things that I was working on, some different projects. And so when you download it, you have licensed it, is what that means. Okay, so that's Adobe Stock. Let's look at another one. I don't know if anybody uses Canva or tried using Canva? Has anyone tried using Canva? Canva is a service that is available on the web. They allow you to edit, modify, use and create designs. Okay. And so it's really a nice service to use if you just want to do a little minor editing of something. But you can do a lot of that editing in both Word and Photoshop as well. It's just that if you don't want to, you can use Canva. So what Canva does is they have a lot of photos. And so they have both free and premium. When you subscribe to Canva, you do get access to their photo library, and it has about 2 million plus. It's, let's see what their pricing is. It's $120 a year. You know, they have, you know, hundreds of thousands of free photos. They don't quite say they have a billion, but you get over 75 million premium photos, videos, audio, and graphics. Now, obviously, if you subscribe to Microsoft 365, a personal subscription is about $70 a year. Now, you're not going to get necessarily as many resources, but you might get a lot. Okay, so you can make choices about what you might be interested in using. So if I go to home and let's see, remind me later. Okay, and you can design anything, or you can look for photos, and you can start with a design if you want to, and try different, you know, templates that they have available, or you could just use their photos if you're interested. Okay, so that's Canva. Okay, now let's get on to some easier ones that give you a lot easier way to find and look for photos. Okay. There's a website called Pexels, P-E-X-E-L-S. It is designed as a free stock photo library. They also have videos, but they have free. So if we wanted to find something for the Grand Canyon, we can click on Grand Canyon and search for it. They're all free. Okay, you don't have to worry about what part of the website's free, what part of the website is paid. They're all free. And they have 2,650 photos of the Grand Canyon. They have some suggestions here. If you're just looking for a general purpose canyon, you can find one. And you can look at all of these. Again, if you log in, they do give you the ability to mark one as a favorite. And if you want to download the photo, you just click on the download icon here, and it's going to download the photo. Now they are owned and they have partnerships with iStock, so they may always promote you, you know, promote being able to do that. Sometimes I downloaded it twice, showed up in my download area here, and it's available for me to open on my computer if I want to. And it's unrestricted, available, and it'll tell you what's the license here. Let's take a look. What is allowed? All photos and videos are free to use. Attribution is not required. Giving credit is appreciated. And you can modify the photos and videos and edit them however you like. You know, so you don't have to worry. Whatever you find on this website is completely free to use for anything you might want to use it. And they have photographers that are collections. Now, sometimes I'll donate $1 for a photo if I use it on a website or a presentation or something like that. Sometimes I'll just, you know, I'll give credit to it, but you always have the ability to do whatever you want to do. And so they save recent searches that you might have done. You can filter these by different types of attributes. So if you're looking for a photo that is black and white, or in a certain color or a certain size or shape or orientation, you have the ability to do these. They have, last I checked, they had over 2.5 million photos on their site. I'm all about trying to make it easier for you guys, okay? Because easy is better than hard, right? Okay, well, they're not the only ones out there. Okay, there's another one called Pixabay. Pixabay has a little over 2.3 million high quality stock images, videos, and music. Okay, and so if we were looking for something, let's take Yosemite, another national park, and I wanted to find pictures of Yosemite. I just type it in, do a search, and I see all these pictures. Now, at the top, you'll see these, sponsored images. They are sponsored by iStock. And so if you want to get one of these images, you'd have to subscribe to iStock. But the ones that are below here, there's 739 free images of Yosemite. Some really great ones here, okay, that you can find that are probably going to be usable for almost anything you might want. And again, when you want to select it, you click on it, and then you can, it says free download, Pixabay license, free for commercial use, no attribution required. The reason they're free, okay, is that they want you to get in the habit of using stock photos. And if you do, they know that a certain percentage of people are going to say, gee, I really like this one, but you have to pay for, a subscription to get that one. They know certain people are going to do it. Okay, so this can, you can download this, and I just take the standard image size and it downloads. And so it's asking me to since I'm a registered user, I'm going to skip this. Okay, so traffic lights, let's try that, see if it works. I don't know. Usually, sometimes it'll do it, but they want to verify that you're a person and not a software product that's constantly downloading something. So again, another one free to use. You can follow the photographer. You can, organize and sort by details if you want to, and look at, if you just want to go to look for landscapes, you find all kinds of photos on landscapes that are available, some really dramatic ones, all free to use. And again, if you log in, you can, mark something as a favorite if you want to. So you have, you can go back and use your library whenever you want to. Is there much difference between Pexels and Pixabay? Sometimes I'll look in either one because, I'll just check them both because it's quick to do a search for any kind of a photo. And so I'll see if one has something rather than what you typically find is if you're looking for a business related photo that's related to a business product or something like that. So if I wanted to look for something like success, as a concept, that's where you're not going to find as many free photos typically, but you'll find, actually there's 5,600, but that's where there's oftentimes a different, set of assortment of photos between the free ones and the paid ones that you can get. You'll find some of these more elaborate images like this, that are more have more work done on them in the paid subscription services. But you can find a lot. You can again go by orientation. You can sort horizontal or vertical, depending on what you're working on. You can go by category, and you can go by size of the picture, or you can even focus on something that's got a color theme to it if you're interested. Well, lots of resources, and you can just scroll through, these photos to see more and more and more, depending on what you want. Great resource, great resource. Okay, one more, okay, because I tried to find them all. This is called Unsplash. And they're a website for free high resolution photos. They actually were recently purchased, and you'll find this interesting, Mary Jo, they were purchased by Getty Images. So Getty now owns Unsplash. Unsplash would make its money by advertising and encouraging people to buy a stock photo. But now, since Getty owns them, Unsplash is the free version because they're all kind of following each other. Like Adobe has paid and free. Pixabay and Pexels are related to iStock photos. They have partnerships there. And so Unsplash is now related to Getty. So they will probably show you premium photos. So what's trending? Flowers, wallpapers, backgrounds, happy, love. Let's try something like coffee. Helps to spell it, right? Coffee. Coffee beans. Again, you just take the photo and you download it. You can join for free. That gives you the ability to save, photos that you might want to go back and use. There's related collections, that they have from photographers that just seem to like to take photos of coffee. But any one of these can be used in a commercial, unrestricted way, absolutely free. And so once you find these sites, you're going to say, gee, these are so easy to use and find so many free photos. You're going to keep on coming back to them. And some people that come back to them are probably going to eventually subscribe to a premium service is what they want. So that's what they want to do. So if we want to look for Grand Canyon, we'll take a look at Grand Canyon photos and we get, some interesting different ones that we might, some people upload their photos to multiple sites. Oh, this is kind of an interesting one. And they're free to use. Great, sites. Okay. And so these are, and you can submit a photo. So if you're a photographer and you're looking to get visibility, that's why they do these, because they get visibility on the free site. And somebody says, gee, I really like this photographer. I think I'll subscribe, to use them, or they get visibility for their work with enough people give them credit for the photo in exchange for using it, that they're able to go out and do it that way too. So my favorite sites are Unsplash, Pixabay, and Pexels because they're so easy to use. Everything is free. Okay, you don't have to worry about a paid portion or a free portion. Canva's okay if you're designing things. They have a free tool that you can use in Canva for designing things. Adobe is a good free source. They just don't have as big a library, but they're getting bigger fast. They're getting bigger fast. And so they'll probably be up with, Pexels and Pixabay and Unsplash pretty soon. Creative Commons, okay. I mean, but given the fact that there's so many different licenses, it's sometimes just easier to use the other sites that I found. Okay, so those are a lot of the sites. Okay, so let me stop for some questions. Joe, you got a question? You have your hand up? Joe, go ahead and unmute yourself.
There we go. Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay.
All right, when you go to Creative Commons and you have all those different varieties of choices there as far as, what you have to do. And it says that you can use the picture, but you have to credit the picture. When you choose one of those pictures, do you get that information with it as to who the person is that took the picture so you can properly credit it, or?
Yeah, you do. You get that information with the picture.
Okay. There's also a site called Wikimedia. I don't know if you've heard of that one before or not, but
Yeah, yeah, I
that
have.
that
Yeah.
has some pictures. It's very limited from what I've used it in the past, but it does have some, common or Creative Commons stuff.
Right, yeah, the Creative Commons is a good, is a good resource. It's just that sometimes, I mean, there's so much else available that's, I think, a little simpler to use now that that I found that myself going to those sites more and more and more.
Yeah, very good. Thank you very much, Bob.
Sure. Any other questions about these sites and what they do? Thank you, Mary Jo. Appreciate that comment. Thank you. Well, let me share my screen again here, and we'll take look, some of the things you can do. We have a few minutes, so some of the things you can do. If I'm logged, I don't know if I'm logged in here, so let me log into Pexels because I do have an account here. And if I log in, I can actually upload photos to Pexels if I want to. Or I can go, search for them. And so if you're looking for things like home garden tools, I was actually looking for things, if you're looking for a bookshelf background, see all these searches that I've saved, that's kind of a classic Zoom background. People use a bookshelf behind them. You can find an office background if you're interested. And so there's lots and lots of resources, okay, that you can find. And again, if you can set collections, and they have partnerships with other sites that you can use. So Pexels and Pixabay, similar type of process that you can use. And then Unsplash are great. And so you can create a login, and that gives you the ability to save your collections depending on what you're doing and what you're looking for. And I don't know I've never clicked on this icon, so I want to see. Okay, so you can drag and drop your image here or browse to choose a file. That's interesting. Okay, so it'll do a search for you. So if you have a picture of something that you have and you're looking for other pictures that are similar to that, you can do that. That's kind of interesting. They're just all kinds of things, trending searches, rain, okay, so you can see all of these and different rain photos and other things. Some are very stylistic like this that you can access too. But let's take, I haven't seen, Joe mentioned Wikimedia, and I haven't looked at them that much because I've just found these other sites so effective. Their goal is to provide free content to resources. So it looks like there's a media wiki that might be available. But again, I just find, things that are easy to use and very searchable and very, understandable. Everything is free. It's great to be able to use those without having to worry about a lot of complications that you might have to run into. Okay, I think these are great resources. This help you guys out, in terms of finding resources that you might not have known about before. Okay, so we've learned a little bit about what are stock photos. We've learned a little bit about copyright and licensing, just enough so that you don't get in trouble. I'm not an attorney, so I can't give you legal advice, but these are just some things to be aware of. There's these great websites that give you free legal to use photos that you have 100% permission to use for whatever you might want to use them for. And then obviously the stock photo library for Microsoft 365 users, which is a great resource if you're a subscriber to Microsoft 365. So there's great Zoom classes. I know some of you have taken my Zoom virtual backgrounds class. We do a class on PowerPoint for beginners where I go through and do walk through the use of the Microsoft stock photo resources that are available. Take advantage of some of the classes on OneDrive, Google Drive, and iCloud. I do some classes on how to buy your next Windows PC. You can always, we're interested in learner stories. So if there's something you learned in Get Set Up that you found you want to share as an experience, let us know about it. Send an email to help@getsetup.io and they'll get it routed to the right person. You'll get some class notes that'll have links to the websites that we've talked about. And there'll be a feedback form for you and a list of a few other classes that might be useful for you as well. When you register for classes now, you can invite a friend and right from when you register. So it's always fun to take classes. I took cooking classes with friends and now they're opening up again. So I find taking a class with a friend always helpful, and you can invite them at any time. One of my friends, Fred Carpenter, started hosting an interest group for iPad users on Get Set Up. You can suggest a new class. We provide help and resources to make sure that you're not, doing it by yourself. You don't have to know anything about how to set up a Zoom meeting or anything like that. You just have to, and we offer some coaching if you're not familiar with hosting an interest group and what might be helpful for you. We partner with organizations. You can request a recording at help@getsetup.io. So if there's, did anyone need any assistance or questions about anything we did today that might be helpful? Hopefully you learned about a lot of new resources that you might not have known about before.
Well, yes, I did. I learned about some new resources.
Great, Regina. Yeah.
So, and then I paid for that Microsoft subscription, and I've never used the stock photos. I've looked at it, but I ain't used it. So I guess I'll see what I'm missing.
I know it's interesting. Well, we oftentimes subscribe as long as you're getting the use you want out of it, but there's always some kind of a feature in something we might not take advantage of that might offer something that we would get otherwise. Because you saw what like Canva and other sites charge for access to their stock photos, and it's included with your Microsoft subscription. Take advantage of it. They have some interesting icons and artwork and other things in there too that are part of their stock library.
And I'm like most people, I just learned Zoom since the pandemic, and I always look at the backgrounds. So thanks for showing, because I'm sitting up there looking at those bookshelves. I said, those are the neatest bookshelves I've ever seen.
Yes, they are. They are. That's why oftentimes they look so good on camera, on TV, is that sometimes people, everybody seemed to go with the classic, a bookshelf with a few books on it and then a plant, near it or somewhere like that. That's a classic background if you got the room for it. I don't have a lot of room, but this is my real background here with a plant and a bookshelf, and you see my bike and everything. So, but that's, just sometimes a virtual background makes a lot of sense. I think I've got one of those photos as a virtual background. I don't know if I have it in this library. Yeah, I have this one here. So that's how it looks as a virtual background for me. It'll look a little bit different on everybody's computer, but
mine is from Zoom.
Yeah. And I know that beach scene from Zoom, but some of the videos you can get some of the free videos that you can download from the stock photo sites are usable too. So they have a lot of resources that are out there. Okay, well, thanks for coming, everybody, and learning and being so great at participating and suggestions and ideas and everything. And hopefully you'll be able to put some of these photos to use for yourself. Okay. Thanks very much. Take care.
Thank you very much.
Bye-bye.
Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.